editorial director at ForceBrands. For those of you just joining us, our Start at Sunday series is all about professional development. And I can't think of a better guest to have on right now than Laura Garnett. How are you doing today, Laura?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So Laura is a performance strategist, she's a TEDx speaker, and she's the author of The Genius Habit. So I wanted to just dive right in with a question for you about this genius zone. What exactly is the genius zone, and how do you encourage people to find it?
So the zone of genius is really comprised of two things, your genius and your purpose. And these two things are rooted in my research on the science of performance. And what I learned is that there's two critical things to great individual performance. You must be challenged intellectually, and you must be fulfilled by the impact that you're having. That's the intrinsic motivation. And so I use this framework to help people get really clear on what this is. So for the genius, it's the thinking or problem solving that you're best at. And for the purpose, it's the impact on others or in the world that is most meaningful to you. And the way that I help people figure that out is by identifying a core emotional challenge. Now, this core emotional challenge is something that has been a repeated pattern that you've experienced your entire life, often from our childhoods, that we're not aware of. If you identify the core emotional challenge, invariably that translates into your purpose. So for myself, me not being seen was really a core emotional challenge for me with my family. Therefore, it's endlessly fulfilling for me to help other people see themselves for who they are.
And given the current climate right now of COVID, there are certainly a lot of challenges, particularly if you're a job seeker. So what advice do you have right now for those who are in transition or they're looking to find the most fulfilling career during a global health crisis?
Yeah, so, to me, I think the first thing that you have to think about when you're doing a job hunt, and any time, and obviously the crisis makes everything more intense, is to really figure out, what is your goal? Is your goal to find a job, any job, or is it to find a job that you love? And once you make the commitment to finding a job that you love, then you have to kind of think about other things. I always tell people it's really good if you want to commit to having a job that you love, you also need to figure out what is your financial runway? What is the time period that you can go in a job search without feeling like you're risking, financial peril? And it's really good to get really clear on what your boundaries are. And also, what are your dependents if you have any or not? Once you're clear on that goal, then the process is about really being able to confront your fears and seeing them as fears rather than being at the mercy of them. Because if you're not clear on your goals, the fear of getting a job offer, it doesn't feel quite right, but that fear of maybe this is the best that I'll get or there won't be one around the corner, again, will cause you to do what a lot of people do, which is to have an endless cycle of mediocre jobs after job. So I would say that's kind of the most important thing to focus on in the very beginning, to get clear on your goals and then start to recognize the fears you have and seeing them as fears and kind of breaking through them for the goal.
I love that advice. And I'm so excited to have you as part of the series and having an ongoing virtual conversation with you. We are going to have our audience submit their questions about professional development as well as career challenges. But I wanted to kick things off with a question that I have for you. Is how did you get started in this, and what do you find most rewarding about the work that you're doing right now?
This work all started when I had a massive career crisis at Google. And this was about 12 years ago. And this crisis ended up prompting a series of questions that I asked myself that I'd never asked myself before. Like, what is the work that I'm best at? What is the kind of career or job that's going to give me purpose and fulfillment? And I went seeking answers for a year, and I hired coach after coach, and I read every book I could find. And at the end of that year, I came up with actually nothing. I just had this folder of information about myself and no clear process or methodology that would help me really shift my work experience. So I did what most people do, and I quit Google and I took the first job offer that came my way. And I ended up working in a startup, and within like a couple weeks, I realized it was another job that wasn't a great fit. And then the 2009 financial crisis hit. The startup went down the drain and I got laid off. And so it was at that point that I really committed to building my dream job from scratch and really solving this problem of finding work that you love for myself and then for others. So when you ask me, what fulfills you, and we started with the zone of genius, what fulfills me is my purpose. And my purpose is helping people see themselves for who they are. So my whole business is been crafted so that I can have that impact of helping people see themselves for who they are. And that is something that I'm endlessly fulfilled by.
And you do work with CEOs, executives. Are there any great case studies that you've had recently that you've really taken a team or an individual and really excel them to the next level of their career?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many examples of that. And I would say, let me think. I would say maybe there's one that I was just talking about the other day to someone, and there's this client, and I've created this tool called the Performance Tracker. So with each client, again, I start by identifying their zone of genius, their genius, the thinking or problem solving that they're best at, and their purpose, the impact that on others that's most important. And then we begin the process of them filling out the performance tracker, which is really a tool that I've distilled all of the latest science, neuroscience, and psychology of success into this tool that allows them to check in with themselves and know whether they're in the zone or not, or being who they are at work or not, as well as building all of these habits that are based on science rather than, what people will tell you. And the clients I've had, and this one in particular, filled out her performance tracker every week for the entire time we worked together, and then continued 2 years after we were together. And I would say in her case in particular, she was able to achieve a career vision that we crafted. And we thought, let's say maybe in 2 or 3 years, she achieved it in a year. And then did that time and time again, and continues to email me and tells me the success that she's created has gone beyond anything she thought was possible. And this was an example of someone who, once she knew her zone of genius, committed to filling out the tracker, committed to the process of just owning and valuing who she was. And in those cases, the sky is the limit. The kind of change and the kind of success that you can create really goes beyond what you think is possible.
I love that. That's such a great testimonial. And I'm so excited to have you continue to join us, Laura, on Start It Sunday. So if any of you guys have a question for Laura, we will be answering them ongoing. You can find us here at Start It Sunday and send your questions to editor@forcebrands.com, or you can fill out the form in the article below. So thank you again, Laura, so much. And we're so excited to have you on Start It Sunday.
Thank you so much. This was great. I'm so excited to be a part of this with you.